And at that moment, it turned out that Luke had made a witless joke again. He then informed Irinda that her magic flow had stabilized earlier than Luke himself thought. Irinda trained well, Reynard helped her. Irinda then decided to ask how he knew she could use high-level magic. Luke replied that it was because Irinda's magic flow was different from other freshmen, and he was also interested in watching the confrontation between Irinda and the prince. Luke then removed the charm from Irinda's neck. Irinda suggested they continued doing what they were doing last time and they began. At the end, Luke praised Irinda. But they realized that it was time to return. When they returned, Serena was a little angry with Irinda. During their conversation, Irinda realized that she needed to forget about the original story. Somewhere at this moment, Luke appears. He reported that Irinda's magic had stabilized and he also returned the charm, but said that he had put a charm on it and now Irinda would not go beyond her power limit while wearing it. Serena put this pendant on Irinda. Irinda asked how much the limit of magic she can use has increased. Luke asked if he could announce it in front of everyone. He then replied that Irinda's magical abilities were not that great, at most, like that of a mage of the imperial family at the lowest position. Then he whispered into her ear that he was not a mage of the imperial family, but a mage of a high-level magic tower. He explained his action by the fact that he did not want to cause Irinda extra trouble. Then he said that the mage of the imperial family, who is in the lowest position, is not so outstanding. Irinda asked what was good by his standards. Luke replied that he didn't like things that caused unnecessary trouble. Luke's stories about far from ideal magical abilities quickly spread throughout the academy, because not just anyone could be an imperial mage. A boy approached Irinda in the dining room. Irinda didn't like that. At that moment, Luke made some kind of magical barrier around the table where they were sitting, through which no one could pass, except for him, Irinda, Serena, and Reynard. Reynard then said that he hadn't had time to talk or practice properly lately. Reynard then offered Irinda to reach the same level in swordsmanship as in magic. When the events moved to training, Irinda became very thoughtful while running, but Reynard stopped her. She said she needed some rest. Reynard agreed, but not for long. While resting, Irinda started telling Reynard how cool Serena was. Reynard replied that he knows his feelings better, and that he should not be confused with someone. Then, as they were walking, Irinda thought again. She didn't understand who Reynard liked, and she thought it was her. She was quite confused in her thoughts. And again her thoughts were interrupted by Reynard. Somewhere at this moment, Prince Noah appears. He scared Irinda very much. Did he come because he wanted to know why Irinda had insulted him so much? But he did not receive a clear answer. Irinda wondered if it was right for her to hate the prince. Maybe he has changed. During the dialogue, Irinda's hair began to turn white again. At that moment, Luke appeared and took Irinda from there with the help of magic. After which he asked if she had eaten anything yet. After that, he teleported again and returned already with food. A little later, when they sat down on a bench, Irinda asked Luke how he knew where she was. He replied that she had unusual waves of magic. Luke had a very good feel of magic within the confines of the academy, but it was a little more difficult at a long distance. A little later, Irinda was already telling Luke why she wanted to run away from their dot. Of course, she couldn't tell everything, so she said that she didn't have a specific reason why she hated Prince Noah. During the dialogue, Luke told Irinda to do as she saw fit. Irinda thanked Luke as she felt better. Luke also told Irinda not to overexert herself, because you can just ignore her, and because she listens to the end, she gets into trouble. Luke was right. Irinda said she considers herself very lucky to have a partner. And she thought about the fact that it is not Luke who needs her, but she needs him. Then the events moved to the dining table where Irinda, Reynard, Luke and Serena were sitting. At the table, Irinda learns that Reynard hit the prince. Irinda began to worry a lot, because there could be consequences. Luke liked such an act, and he even added that he will erase the prince's memory. Reynard did not regret his act, because the prince was touching Irinda. At that moment, Irinda thought that what had happened was her fault. She thanked Reynard, but reminded him that she would be the one to crush the prince. The events then moved to the library. Serena asked everyone if they were going to study for their exams. Luke said he didn't need to study. They agreed with Irinda that if she puts up a barrier, then Luke will start preparing for the test. The girl looked at the formula for only 10 seconds, and then put up a barrier. Luke was shocked. After that, the girl decided to help her friends in their studies, to give them answers to some questions, because the plot of the work has already changed a lot, and such a trifle will not change anything. She told her friends that she was going to make notebooks for them with possible exam questions. A little later, Irinda and Luke walked together. During the dialogue, Luke asked how long Irinda knew about this spell. After all, it is impossible that Irinda could remember the spell in that short period of time, unless she had prior knowledge about it. Irinda told Luke that she was just smart. Luke asked why she didn't tell about her talent right away, because that would have been more fun. It angered Irinda that Luke would talk about fun in this situation. The girl turned around and left, and Luke tried to make an excuse at that moment, and the girl replied that she would listen to his excuse during the break. Then the events are transferred to the lesson. Serena asked Irinda if they had a fight with Luke. Irinda replied that she was offended. A little later, after talking to Serena, Irinda was reading a note from Luke. In which Luke said that they would meet in the magic room after fencing, where he would teach the girl the magic of the tower. After that, the events are transferred to the dinner table, where all four friends were gathered. Irinda is already used to fencing training. Reynard wanted to suggest that Irinda increase the intensity of her training, and Luke said that starting today after training, he was going to teach Irinda magic. Irinda wanted to spend time with Serena. Serena offered to come to her room and practice together. After Irinda finished studying magic, Luke asked if he could come too. Irinda asked, "What are you going to break into the women's dormitory?" He replied that he could not miss a private lesson from her. And besides, he has been interested in learning since yesterday. A little later, he said he figured out how he and Reynard could get into the room. And then the evening came. The boys who had transformed into girls were already standing at the door. The girls were surprised and closed the door. Then they opened it and told to reincarnate now. If there are no people outside when the friends were studying, Luke interrupted this process. They had a small discussion with Irinda. During the discussion, it appeared that Reynard had fallen asleep. Serena asked Luke to move Reynard to her bed. It is not surprising that Reynard fell asleep, because he usually sleeps at this time. Since Luke wanted to finish his studies quickly, he took it upon himself to help Serena, and told Irinda to rest. Irinda sat down next to Reynard. Then Reynard woke up and took Irinda's hand.